see the stop sign for 40 years.
Right.
I love it. All right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Oh, Angie, turn your camera on. What's up, girl? How you doing? Look at that. Eating some breakfast too. I love it. Kamalani. I still can't figure out what's that. What do I call Kamalani? It's not even her name. I call her something else, but I keep forgetting that one. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Tell me something good. I know we got some people who are coming on still. We got some maybe possible new people on here that might need to introduce themselves. If not, I might have to introduce them myself. But, you know, you have to call people out like that once in a while. I might have to. I'm going to introduce Katie Ryan. Katie's new to the group. Welcome, Katie. She's from Texas. Don't hold that against her. But she's from Texas. So yeah, Knolly's all excited. Someone from Texas. Hey, introduce yourself real quick, Katie, if you can, yeah?
Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Ryan. Yes, I'm from Texas, kind of. I actually was raised more in California than Texas. So, but Texas is home for now. I've been doing real estate since 2018, kind of off and on. And now I'm actually ready to just really plug into it full time and just like hit the ground running and start going.
There we go. And she's ready to rock and roll.
Yes.
Hold on a second. My is wrong. You have wrong link. I don't know why these are always wrong, everybody. Wrong link. Give me 1 second here. Well, welcome, Katie. All right. Anybody else? Say something. Tell me something good. We got some good news on here. Somebody's got some good news on here. Come on. What's up, Phil Ma?
Hey, how you doing, Chris?
Doing well. How are you?
Hey, Phil Ma, newly joined EXP in both California and Oregon. I'm dual licensed. I can do business in both states, and I'm glad to be a part of the team.
Nice.
So, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Welcome, welcome. Morning, Shireen. All right. Somebody else, some good news. Come on. I know everybody's eating breakfast there. I missed my breakfast. All right, go for it, girl.
Hey, you know how I've been doing those first-time homebuyer workshops?
Yes.
I closed on a brand spanking new 3-bedroom, 2-bath home for a cute little family. They have 3 little kids and a mom and dad. And it was so, like, it totally just fills my cup because they came to my workshop at the end of August. And then they kind of waited for like a couple weeks. And they're like, we're not sure if we want to do this or not. And then they called me. They're like, okay, we want to look at some homes. And I showed them 2 homes. And the very first home they walked into, the kids were like, this is my room. This is my room. They're all emotionally like attached already. And then we put in the offer, and 34 days later, they closed on their brand new home. So they went from like, I don't know if we could even do this, to homeowners on a brand spanking new home, which just to me is just like amazing. So I'm so blessed to be able to do what we do. And I just wanted to share that. I'm so stoked for them. So
amazing. And those are things you just have created from like organically. So here's everybody's talking about what should I do? What should I do? Take a note from Tara. Just literally, you create something, right? Just do something. Get creative right now. This is the market to get creative. You can't sit there and hold back and think this isn't going to work. That's not going to work. Or man, what would work right now? She just did a home buyer workshop. And how long you been doing that?
For a couple months now. I probably did like 6 or 7 of them in different communities on the island. So, and then somebody called me yesterday from one of them, and she's like, hey, I saw a home for sale. I want to get pre-qualified like right now. So, you know, it works. You just got to do them, be consistent.
There we go. I love that word. Say it again. What was that last word you said?
Consistent.
There we go. I want y'all to choke on that word and like die by it. Consistency is key. Anything done consistently will result in something. It's been proven in the history of life. You can drink a little bit of tequila every day, just at lunch break, consistently. Next thing you know, you can be a full-blown alcoholic. Just saying. It's proven. It works. I mean, in a bad way, too. So it goes both directions, people. Consistency is key. So I love it, Tara. Good for you. Great example. And for those who are thinking that they can't figure out things to do, by God, stop making excuses, because she just did it. They handed it to you all. Go do it. And if you want a chapter out of her book, I'm sure she'll share it with you. Like, what does it look like? How you set it up? How do you market it? How do you invite? What's your content, right? I'm sure you'd love to share that. And be like a fly on the wall. She'll tell you everything you need to know. So thank you for sharing that, Tara. Amazing. Congratulations by that. And that's just going to be the beginning, by the way. That one is going to be the beginning. You're going to start to create some momentum in this. Next thing you know, it's going to be a full-fledged like conveyor belt of people coming in and doing these workshop programs. And then like, I want to get qualified. especially when the rates turn again and we see some change in the market, it's going to happen. So this is all going to pay off. I love it. Awesome. All right. Somebody else, some good news. Who can top that one? Come on. I've only had one cup of coffee. I need some more.
I can share some takeaways, Chris.
Do it, please.
So I went to the Zillow Unlock conference last week in Austin, and everybody's asking me what the takeaways are. And I've been sharing kind of the tactical takeaways, but a big one was just looking back, and it's the gap in the gain. There's a great book called The Gap in the Gain, and the principle is that when you're looking forward, right, at what your goals are, where you want to get to, sometimes it can be discouraging because it seems so far off. And if you suffer from the same syndrome I do, where it's like it's never enough, right? There's like the goalpost is always going to be moving. Sometimes you can get frustrated in life, but if you look back at how far you've come in a year, 2 years, 3 years, that's where you can really draw motivation from and be great and have gratitude for how far you've come. So those of you guys who just joined EXP or maybe been here for a while, I just remind you guys to look back, because that's really the realization I got from going to this conference. And I've told this story about Chris inviting me to Brent's event in Vegas like 5 years ago now. And this was another one of those events that I went to in 2018. I look back at my emails to see when the first one I went to was, and it was when they were just announcing this flex program with Zillow, and I was just a single agent buying like $300 worth of leads in a shitty zip code at the time, and I was like, man, I want to be that guy. I just saw what a gold mine it could possibly be. And so for the next couple of years, I continued to invest. I continued to build a team. It was one of the reasons why we started to build the team. And then going to this event now, this year we'll probably close 140 transactions just from Zillow Flex. And like looking back at the gain, right? It's like super motivating to just know that like not that long ago, it wasn't like this at all, but like there was a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of faith. There's some times when I was like, man, is this thing ever coming? Is it ever really going to happen? And looking forward, we've expanded to Maui. We're expanding to Oahu here shortly. And the sky's the limit with this thing, but really focusing on the gain has been a huge takeaway. And so when you're feeling kind of down and frustrated about where you're going, just take a look back, stop and take a look back for a second and be grateful for how far you've come, not just in business, but in life and family and everything else that you do. So don't focus on the gap, focus on the gain.
I love it. Spoken by a true man. There we go. I love it. And it's totally true. If you haven't read that book yet, we had that two months ago, right? Book of the month, Gap in the Gain. Great read.
I think we did 10. I think we did 10X and 2X, but The Gap in the Gain is another book those two guys wrote. And there was some of it sprinkled into that, but there's a whole entire book about it. Darren Hardy and Dan Sullivan.
Yeah, I think we did. I think I got to look right now. I think it was right, because I have read that Gap in the Gain book. Yeah. But yeah, a great connection there. Thanks for sharing that, Dylan. And it's true. Focus on the good stuff, man. Don't focus on the bad stuff. Focus on the way how much you've actually come forward at this point in life. You've done a lot. So awesome. And Dylan, you've come a long way, and I'm proud of you, brother. So proud of you from that first event you went to Brent's. So long ways, and now he's crushing it. So awesome. All right. Anybody else real quick before we move on to the mortgage minute? Bueller. Nobody's going to jump up. Everybody's shy. All right, go ahead. Duncan, hit us up with some mortgage rates. We're back to 3.5. Yes, we're excited. Let's do this.
Not quite 3.5, Chris, but we had the inflation report this morning, the CPI. I'm going to share with you guys some information about why, even with the CPI coming down, with jobs report showing weakening, and with overall the overall economy weakening, why it's not time for a real estate crash. I actually did a video over a year ago when people were expecting a recession to come, and I gave a lot of reasons why market wasn't going to crash. And we've seen real estate hold up really well, even though rates have shot up dramatically in that last year and a half. So inflation CPI report came out today, and it showed CPI for October came down. It was up the last few months. It's not going to come straight down, but it came up from the 9s down to the 3s, and it's resuming the downtrend. And we're likely to see inflation in the 2s next year, or actually hitting the 2% Fed target. I've talked a lot about rates and where they're headed. This time I'm going to focus more on the real estate market. Job market, the last jobs report for October also showed first weakening, a strong weakening for compared to the trend for the last year and a half or 2 years. Also, the mortgage rates today, you can see down below 7.5%. We did hit over 8% a couple of weeks ago. So we're past the peak, at least the short-term peak. So we'll see if that's going to end up being a long-term peak. Eventually, we are going to see much lower rates. It'll probably take a while. So you might have people asking, won't housing prices crash like in 2008? Do you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a very different financial picture now, where you don't have the negative amortization loans and the liar loans like you had in 2008. So you have a much stronger foundation. We have a huge shortage of homes. And actually, let me go through these slides for all these different points. The biggest issue is supply and demand. And then if you look at the past recessions, people think a recession is a horrible time to buy and prices are going to drop. That's only been this last recession, which was that housing bubble. And I'll show you more reasons why, but that one was unique. And all the past recessions in the last 60 years or so have been great times to buy. You look at the start of each recession, the green bars here. The biggest reason is you have the big increased inventory going into 2008. And then now we've got a much smaller amount of inventory, about a quarter as much. And we have not enough homes. New homes being built have been a lot lower since that 2008 crash. So you've seen a big shortage of homes. So even though rates have shot up, you still have a lot of people wanting to buy if there's such a little supply. So where is there housing shortage? This map shows that it's not a universal housing shortage. There's certain parts of California and other parts where it's not so much a shortage, but on other parts of California and in Alaska and here, we're very much in a housing shortage. So that's why you won't see a housing crash with such a shortage of housing. We have demographically, we've got the two largest generations ever wanting to own homes at the same time. You got the baby boomers up here and the millennials. And millennials are entering home buying age. So demographically, we've got a huge number of people that want to own homes. So what about foreclosures, short sales, and other forced sales? We have the mortgages as a percent, mortgage debt payments as a percentage of disposable income is much lower than it was in 2008, about half. And it's much lower than even before that and in decades. So you got people in a much better position than before, as well as having much more equity. People have almost 3 times as much equity. They had less than 20% equity, 81% loan to value ratio in 2008 on average. And now people with prices having gone up so much, people haven't made a lot of payments and a lot of people buying cash now, you have a much lower loan to value ratio, meaning a lot of people have a lot more equity. So you're not going to see as many forced sales. What about affordability? You get a lot of people that are going to say that prices have to come down because they've gone up so much, it's not affordable. If you look at the US versus the rest of the world, the US is just about the most affordable in the world. And there's a website that shows you by country what the average affordability is. And you can see a lot of countries are much higher, up in the 40s. There's 106 countries here. And guess where the US is? US is ranked number 102 out of 106 on affordability. And Honolulu is at 9 on this index. So it's still a lot less expensive. Even though it's a lot less affordable than a lot of the rest of the US, it's still much more affordable than most of the world. And then finally, in Hawaii, coming back specifically here in Hawaii, we've got the uptrends. You can see the steady uptrend in price appreciation, a 4.6% annual appreciation line here. And there were a couple of times when it bumped up, had little bubbles with Japan and with 2008 housing bubble, but it's been much different, much steadier. And then with the COVID, you saw an increase here. And if you look at it in terms of inflation adjusted, there was a very little blip because inflation had gone up so much. And this one just shows how steady Honolulu and Oahu is compared to Vegas. Vegas, you have much bigger ups and downs, and a lot of the mainland has much more ups and downs, and Honolulu and Hawaii has been much steadier. So is it time to buy or sell? Hawaii is much steadier than others. I did another example with the numbers on a previous call, showing why it's much better to buy if you find the right place now and refinance later on. So if you love a property, it's much easier to buy now. And then when a lot more people qualify after rates drop, then you don't have to bid with 50 other people. So marry the home, date the rate. You guys have heard that. One other thing I want to mention, there's a big issue with hurricane master coverage in Oahu, and it's probably an issue in other locations here. We have one lender in Hawaii that can do the loans on those buildings, where this is where the master coverage is not sufficient to cover the full replacement of the building. We have that one lender that we work with. I've done loans with them for over 10 years, but they only have ARMs with reduced LTV. We have another national lender that can also do loans on those buildings, and we can do loans with them on the mainland as well for investors. So if you have any issues with any condos that you can't get coverage because the hurricane coverage is insufficient, then we can help you guys out. That lender can also do primary residence, second home, or investor, and they have a 30-year fix as well as ARMs. So that's it for the Mortgage Minute. You can see my reviews and my contact information as always. So thanks, Chris, and I'd be happy to help you guys out with any the hurricane shortfalls or anything else.
Yeah, leave that real quick there on the screen. So you guys want his contact, hit that QR code real quick there. That's his information. You can click on him and get connected with Duncan. And the PowerPoint slide, if you could, Duncan, share it with me. I can put it on the Team Freedom page too as well. That power slide, I want to see some of those notes. That'd be awesome.
Okay, sure thing. I'll send that to you.
Awesome. Thanks for the update. And so, yeah, that's some good news. I mean, we're obviously seeing a little bit of drop in rates. It's not like we're going to keep going up higher at this point. So there is some light maybe within the tunnel. Just, again, stay positive, keep focused. And I'd say don't even think about the rates, right? The rates, inflation, recession, those are just things that come and go. We've seen them decades and centuries ago. And real estate still moved on. So just keep plugging forward. Keep your eyes focused on the prize and not let those little white, things in the background kind of distract you right now. Stay focused and just keep plugging. Thank you, Duncan. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, guys. Take care.
All right. So moving forward here again, we actually have had this gentleman here, and those who know him, the gentleman wears a cowboy hat. I'll let him slide with that, as since I'm the Japanese cowboy. We'll let you be the Puerto Rican cowboy now. You can be the Puerto Rican cowboy. We'll let you have that one. But yeah, Knolly Williams is an amazing person. I've known him for years, and he was actually on our call probably 8 months ago. But he's a genuine, great author, mentor, coach in the industry for well over a couple decades now. He's the guy who did 1,000 transactions personally himself. He's got a 3-hour work week, and he's been very successful at this and has reached goals that were unsurmountable by working this process. But he has some new stuff that he wants to share with us. Excited to have him on the call. Also very blessed he has some time because he's always traveling around doing some stuff. So thank you for taking your time today, Knolly, and sharing your information with us. So without further ado, take it away, my friend.
What's up, family? All right. Hey, thank you, Chris. And we had talked about this. This is the reason I'm back is because I do have a new book out on McGraw-Hill. And this is what it's actually 3 hours a day, not 3 hours a week. Now,
even a day.
I did get my real estate practice down to 3 hours a week. And Dylan, I can share with you my process on how I did that, doing tons and tons of deals, working just a few hours a week. But before I begin, I want to share a couple of things. First of all, I just want to give a shout out to Dylan, because here's a man that is very humble. He's just a very humble person, just very genuine. And he loves people. He loves real estate. He loves the process. And he took me back when we were on stage together some months ago. I think it was at Shareholders this year. And he took me back to when his belief changed. See, for us to have the kind of success that we really desire and that we really deserve, I should say, our belief has to change. Something has to change. And at some point, Dylan went from being in the audience to being on the stage, like teaching others. And so I just want to applaud Dylan for his and plus the fact that he is also, I've been to Dylan's team meeting as well. And Chris, you're leading a great example. Dylan is actually following in that. And so, high five to Dylan for that. For Tara, I want to share with you, and appreciate that, Dylan. Thanks for letting your light shine, bro. Seriously. For Tara, I want to share with you. So I'm super excited about what you're doing with that seminar. I want to encourage you to keep going. Sometimes you're like, why am I doing this? What is this even going to be fruitful? But the reality is it definitely does pay off, and you're not going unnoticed for the work that you're putting in. So let me ask you this, Tara, real quick. are you monetized? Now that's one of the best stories I've ever heard in real estate. Okay. You know, and I love this whole thing. You know, they saw two houses. They really bought the first one they saw. And it just happened just like that. And you help someone's dream come true. So how are you monetizing that? Or are you?
Nah, I do these home buyer workshops for free. You know, and we normally provide some snacks, some refreshments, and a ton of value. So I usually bring a lender with me, sometimes an escrow officer, myself, another one of my realtor friends, and we just go through the process. You know, everybody takes it takes time to share. And I kind of tie it all in at the end, and I break down all the numbers and I show them how possible it is. We encourage them, we inspire them, we empower them. Like they walk out of there legit feeling like I can totally do this after they come to our event. And it's just been amazing. And now we see the fruit of you know, this is the third family already that I've helped buy a home from these workshops. And I'm telling you, these are people that, you know, they've never bought a home before. They never even thought they could do it. And they just take action. And that's the biggest thing, is they're the ones taking action. But I've never charged for it. I've never, you know, tried to monetize on it in any way. I just kind of do it for my community, because I feel like nobody's teaching them how to buy a home or what it's like. And it's not that hard. It's really simple once you have a good team, and you know, you can ask questions, and then they're not shame. You know, it's really inspiring. So yeah, that's
I love
basically
it.
how
So
I
what
do.
I want to do, this is not even on script, Chris. I didn't plan for this, but what I want to do, I want to help Tara, and I think others will be helped with this. I want to show you how to monetize what you're doing. I'm not talking about charging people for it. So get that idea out of your head. We're not talking about charging or having a fee. I'm talking about monetizing the stories. Now, you may already be doing this, but have you ever heard of the circle of awesomeness?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to share this with. This is not what I'm here to teach, but your story, and there's many others like you that I feel like their stories are going unheard. Okay, so let me just share with you real quick how to do this. It's going to be very, very simple, something for you to add into what you're doing already. It's going to take very little of your time. It's going to make you a lot of money. Okay, so I'm getting an echo. So if you're not in the conversation, if you can mute yourself, just so that when we get the playback, we'll make sure it's real clean for everybody. So I'm going to quickly share. Let me see if I can share my screen.
Yeah, just hit that arrow up button at the bottom of the screen, the score box.
Yeah, I know my way around Zoom, but I'm learning. So can you guys all see what's on my screen here?
Yeah, there we go. Yep, circle of awesome.
So this is going to help Tara. So what you're doing, Tara, is beautiful, and I want that story to get out there. Now, you might already be doing this, but this is called the circle of awesomeness. I learned this years ago from Stu McLaren, great guy. And basically, here's how it works. You make a sale, which you did. You know, you had the workshop. You made a sale. Okay, we'll talk about selling in a minute. So you made the sale. You got your client a result. Now, the first sale you had to make was yourself. Like you said, they had a belief that hey, I can actually do this. I can make this happen. So that was the real sale. You sold the idea that they could actually own a home right now in today's market. So that sale was sold. You did that. Then you got a result. Now you got to keep going, and you have to produce a story. Now you have a story, and I love the story. How many of y'all love this story? Raise your hand. We all love it, but you got to produce the story. Okay, what does that mean? That means getting out your video camera, your phone. This is my camera right here. And I'm actually videoing myself as I'm doing this class. I video everything that I can, anything that could be potential content. So you actually video the story of these people, just like you told it to us. You create a 2 to 3 minute version of that, and then you leverage their story in your marketing. Okay, so all your social media, your marketing, your YouTube channel, everywhere that you have these stories of these 3 families that you've helped, how you help them. They came to the seminar. They didn't believe in it at first. And then they tell their part of it or whatever. It could be 3, 4, 5 minutes, however long it is. And then you're sharing those stories with other people. These are called case studies, by the way. You know, you can call them success stories, case studies, results. They're really testimonials, but we don't call them that anymore. So you leverage those stories in your marketing. And then what does that lead to? A lot more sales. Okay. Which leads to more results, which leads to more stories, which leads to more opportunities to leverage those stories in your marketing. You tracking with this? Does that make sense?
Love it.
Yeah. So that's for a lot of people, I feel like that's the missing piece. Are you doing that now, Tara?
I try to, but I could be better at it.
Okay. Let's get better at it. All right. Because more people need to know about that story. And it's really going to help you because you're doing it already. It's just a matter of incorporating this piece into that. So how many found that helpful? The circle of awesomeness. Yeah, it's super helpful. And I, by the way, have to remember to do that more myself. All right. So what I want to share with you guys, I want to share with you real quick.
Can we ask a question real quick, Knolly?
Yeah. Throw
Real
question.
quick, Caitlin. Or maybe she accidentally did that. All right, maybe not.
Yeah, if you have a question, you can throw that in the chat. I'll be happy to help. Anybody has a question. I do actually have a presentation, and this is a little bit of a workshop. I'm going to show you a couple of things. How this book came about was that years and years ago, I started off in the real estate game as a lister. Okay, I took 21 listings my first 74 days in the business. Okay, I went on to take over 1,000 listings. Okay, not buyers, listings. That just happens to be my game. I took over 1,000 listings my first 10 years in real estate. And I reverse engineered it of how I did that in a book that many of you already have. If you don't have it, you know, shame on you. You got to get it. No shame. I'll take the shame back. But we got to get it. It's called Success with Listings. If you're super struggling, you're like, Knolly, I don't have $20 to get it on Amazon. Guess what? I'll send the PDF to Chris and he'll give it to you, because that message needs to get out. People ask me all the time, man, Knolly, how in the world you take over 1,000 listings, over 100 listings a year for 10 years in a row? Okay, it's not like I took 18 my first year, 20. By my second year, I took about 80 some listings. And by my fourth year in the business, I was the #1 solo producing agent in the city of Austin, Texas, out of 9,800 agents that year. It was a little over almost 10,000. Austin Business Journal tracked all of our numbers, and I was ranked #1. I did 96 transactions through MLS. Now, I had some other creative deals outside of MLS, but I was doing over 100 deals my fourth year in the business. And so I unpacked that in my book, Success with Listings. Okay, so if you don't have that book, let me show you that one. That's this book right here. And the reason I wrote the book is people, and Dylan can track with me on this, and Chris knows what I'm talking about. Our time is kind of limited, right? So we always have, hey, can I pick your brain? And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to pick it myself. And here it is. So it's my brain in 452 pages. Okay. It's a lot of material. And so the point is, I bring that up just to let you know that the game is out there. It's already been documented, and it's down. Now, later, as I started becoming more and more successful, I ran into another problem. How many of you know that in this business, you'll only ever have 2 problems? How many of y'all know that? Okay. Did you know that in this bit, I'm gonna help you solve every problem you'll ever have in business right now. Is that okay with you? Who wants that?
Yep.
Okay. In this business, people are like, man, I got a lot of problems right now. Look, in this business, you'll only ever have 2 problems. You guys already know, because you guys are down with Chris. So you already know the 2 problems. Who can tell me what the 2 problems are that you have, that you'll ever have in real estate or any business, really?
Time and money.
That's it. Those are the only 2 problems that you'll ever have. So if you come to me and you're like, man, right now I'm not making ends meet. The market's down right now. I can't get any deals. Nobody's buying. Somebody told me that the other day, Chris, from Houston. They said, nobody's buying houses right now. I said, hey, David, I said, do me a favor. Could you pull up your MLS and look at how many transactions occurred last month? He was like, man, I'm telling you, nobody's buying anything. I said, I get it. Nobody's buying anything. But could you do that just as a favor to me? So he did it. He said, hold on a minute. Something's wrong here. Let me do this again. I said, just go back 30 days in your MLS. How many transactions? He said, man, it's over 4,400. I said, so that's over 8,800 transactions. Every deal has two sides. He said, yeah, almost 9,000 transactions. I said, and you're trying to get 2 a month and you're telling me you can't do it? I'm telling you, you can go out there and get your unfair share. So if you have that kind of problem where you can't get business, you can't get, now you have a money problem. That's cash flow. Okay. And you solve that problem with lead generation. And I have a lot of training on that. That's not what I'm really here to talk about today. I've got tons and tons and tons of training on how to get leads. Once you solve that problem, by the way, it's an easy problem to solve when you know how. Once you solve that problem, you'll never really have that problem again. Okay. So Chris has demonstrated, Chris and specifically Dylan has demonstrated to all of us that he has solved the lead generation problem. How many deals you're going to do this year, Dylan, you think? Your team?
600 probably, somewhere on there.
See how humble he is? He only told us about 100 and something of them earlier through Zillow. That's cool, but he's going to do 600. He didn't even want to say it. But here's the reality. He solved the lead gen problem. He doesn't have that problem anymore. Man's closing 50 deals a month. Now, what is his problem? It's only going to be time. Now, Dylan, do you think you'll ever have a problem generating leads again in the future?
Never.
Never. You really won't ever. Once you have solved that problem, and that's good news for those of you that haven't solved it yet. You're like, man, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I can't even get 1 deal a month. I get it. We empathize with you. We love you. We love on you. But guess what? One day you're going to solve that problem and you'll never have that problem again. From that day forward, you will always have the problem of time. How do I get my time back? And this was my problem about 8 months into the business. And what I did, now I'm not asking you to do this, but what I did was I wrote down every single thing that I did in real estate. Okay, in the listing side. And lo and behold, there was 46 things from the step number 1, generate the lead, all the way through step 40, close the transaction. Then there was 6 steps after closing. It's a 46 step. And what I realized right away, as I analyzed the list, that there was only 5 things on that list that required a license. Let me say it again. 5 things on the list required a license. Okay, so what things should I be doing? At least not the other 41, right? Maybe the 5 that require a license. Of the 5 that require a license, what I found is that 3 of those things were non-income producing activities. Let me say it again, non-income producing. All right. So on the life of a listing, okay, and you can put this on buyers. I have a whole buyer thing where I show you that as well. But for the life of a listing, there are only 2 things that are income producing. And so I, in my real estate practice, endeavored to only focus on those 2 things, which is generate the lead and go on the appointment. Generate the lead, go on the appointment. Generate the lead, go on the appointment. Eventually, I learned how to leverage going on the appointment. I hired a gal that was, and I would always say, man, nobody can do appointments like me. This Knolly Williams you're talking about. What you talking about? Come on. I mean, but the reality is there's always somebody that can do it a little bit better. And I found her. And then I found another one that was actually better than me at doing the appointments. And I leveraged that. So all I did for my team was generate leads. Okay. And anyway, that's the iteration of this whole thing right here, 3 hours a day. 3 hours a day is really about focusing on the income producing activities only. Okay. And delegating everything else to someone else. Now it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight, and you don't have to get to it overnight. You don't have to worry about getting to it overnight, because even if it happens for you in a year, 2 years, 3 years, just know that it will happen eventually if you know how to do it and you work at it. So you don't have to feel like, see, most realtors, let me just say this. This is going to sound a little mean, but you'll understand what I'm saying. Most realtors only, what they did was they left the rat race only to get on the hamster wheel.
Mm.
It's just a different thing, right? But you still spinning and doing it. And you're doing a lot of things that you don't have to do. In reality, if your problem is not generating enough business, then the only things that you should focus on is number one, or the two things that you should focus on. Okay, doesn't mean you don't do all the others. Eventually, you can leverage those out. But the two big priorities for you is number one going to be generating leads and going on appointments. Generate leads, going on appointments. Generate leads. That's your two big picture priorities. If money is a problem for you, if time is your problem, okay, it's going to go back to branding and leadership. That's what you should be spending your time on. So Dylan, right now, you should be spending your time only on branding and leadership. Okay. What does that mean? You know, your enterprise, you're basically the brand. You become the brand ambassador, and you're putting that brand out there on all your social media channels, and you're basically pumping up the brand through your podcast, your TV show, your YouTube channel, whatever you've got to do that, your radio show, whatever you're doing, you're putting that brand out there. And then number two, you're leading your team, the ones that are actually out there producing, or, you know, you're leading them. Have you ever noticed that the orchestra conductor has his back to the audience? Anybody ever noticed that? Because Dylan has become an orchestra conductor, okay? And so a lot of times it looks weird because his back is sort of to the audience, but he's conducting, he's the orchestrator of his team. See, an orchestra conductor looks very different than a band leader. See, some people run their teams like a band leader, and you know the band leader does everything. They book the shows, they take notes, they got to wake up the band members. Hey man, it's time to get, they got to drive the van and get direction. They do everything. An orchestra conductor just conducts the orchestra. And so there's different levels. So when McGraw-Hill asked me to write this book, what they were wanting me to do was really reverse engineer my process for how is it that I work, 3 hours a day. And it really boils down to those two things, focusing on the two big picture priorities for 90 minutes a day each. And everything else, I've got, systems, processes, and tools, leverage. So leverage is, if time is your problem, leverage is your answer. If money is your problem, leads is your answer, okay? So what is leverage? PST, people, systems, and tools. People is who will do it. Systems is how will they do it. And tools is what will they do it with. That's PST. So that's just kind of the 30,000-foot view of this. Not all of you guys are at here, okay? But just realize that there is a better sort of road down there's a better light at the end of the tunnel. Don't think that you got to be on this hamster wheel forever. You got to put in your hustle and grind. But the hustle and grind is a season. It's not a life sentence. Let me say it again. The hustle and grind is a season and not a life sentence, okay? Unless you choose for it to be. And if you choose it to be a sentence, that's a life sentence, that's usually ego. Okay, that's a whole nother, that's another training on that. Actually, what I had prepared for you guys was the 5, and we may have time for this, we may not. The Holy Spirit took me on a different path here, and I'm kind of sensitive to that. So do we have any questions? And if we have time, I might even get to the main material.
I really like the way you put this very simply. I mean,
yeah, it's very simple.
Right? Depending on what stage of your business you're at, whether you're brand new and just starting, and obviously you have no, let's say money, right? If money is your issue, then there's only one thing you should be doing, lead generating, right?
Yeah.
They always say if you don't have enough leads to meet, match, or exceed your goals, nothing takes precedence to lead generation.
That's right.
Right? But then you get to the point where if you get lead generating, and you get really good at it, your business really gets to compile and compound, then you get to be overwhelmed. Then overwhelmed,
absolutely.
Right? Next level of time. Now you get time back. So leveraging is the next step. So I love it. There's 2 phases of this business. And right now, if you're in the phase of I need money or I'm not meeting my financial goals, then everything else needs to be out the door other than lead generating, because you
That's
have all
right.
the time in the world.
Yeah, and you just described feast or famine.
Yep.
Okay, we talk about this feast or famine syndrome. I went through it for years. I mean, when I was 29 years old, okay, I was making $150,000 a month, 6 figures a month. Okay, I made my first $1 million at the age of 29. I actually made $2 million that year, and I was in the music industry, but I had no clue how to keep it, how to how to manage it, I didn't know nothing. I mean, if I made 150 grand that month, some months I made over 200,000. I would spend a little more than I made. That's always what I would do. It isn't money for spending, like invest. Like, man, I'm 29. What you talking about? So I really was very ignorant about money, and it led me to bankruptcy. So by the age of 33, even though I had in my family, my mom she was abusive. Okay, so I was abused mentally, physically, emotionally, and she would tell me, "Boy, you'll never amount to anything. I despise you." My mom and dad separated when I was 7. I have his name. I'm Knolly Alexander Williams Jr. He was senior, and I look like him, got the same name. So she hated him, and she act like she hated me. And that was me growing up till I ran away from home at 16. And so when I ran away from home, I dropped out of high school at 9th grade. I never completed past 9th grade, by the way. Okay. And part of my life, Chris, was actually trying to prove that mom was wrong. Watch me. You know what I'm saying? And I was trying to prove to myself, really, that I am worthwhile. I am worthy of love and so on like that. And so I went through sort of this season where I was making more money in a week than my mom with a master's degree. My mother had a master's degree in psychology. So that tells you, and cray, you know what I'm saying? She's nice now. She became nice in her older age. But what it shows you is that, and I'll say this, I was making more in a week than my mom ever made in any year of her career with a master's degree. But I was doing that, man, just to prove that, you're wrong, up yours. I had that attitude. And it's very different now, I'd say. After several failures, I've had a home foreclosed, I've gone through bankruptcy, and so on. So I know both sides of it. But feast or famine, we're talking about just real quickly. Feast or famine is one of those things where, you generate a lot of business, man, you're riding high, you just closed 4 deals, then you don't have a paycheck for, 3 or 4 months, right? That's called feast or famine. And a lot of times when you're getting your paycheck, it's to pay debts that you have. It looks good, right? Oh, you just closed 2 deals, but that's just to pay off, the debt that you acquire. So you go from generating business to working the business. Then you look up, you're like, man, I don't have any business anymore. Then you got to go work the business again. Then you're so overwhelmed with business, then you go, that's called feast or famine. So we don't want to see you there either. There is a balance. There's a way to balance that out. Where are we at on time? We got 10 minutes. If I don't have any questions, I'm going to go right into, Joanna says, I'm so sorry. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the empathy. Thanks for sharing. Broken relationship with mother brings financial issues. Yeah. How did you heal that within you? So Joanna wants to know how the healing came. So when I turned 18, I had an encounter with Jesus. I made him the Lord of my life. And I forgave my mom. I went back home. I was like, Mom, I forgive you. I love you. And we've been cool. I mean, she's a different kind of person. And, it's interesting. So we've never really had that bond, like what I see other sons and moms have, but there's totally like no resentment or anything like that. And I share my story because I don't want everybody to think, man, he grew up with a silver spoon. He always had it good. No. I dropped out of high school. I completed 9th grade, got my GED. And then I went to college for a year. Didn't like that either. I didn't like high school. I didn't like school. What can I say? Dropped out of college and just became an entrepreneur full time. And I've been an entrepreneur full time without a W-2 for 30 plus years. And I became an entrepreneur at the age of 12 only because I needed to figure out how to make money so I could get myself out of my situation, if you will. That was my motivation. So, but I do believe that everything in life we create, I believe the scripture says we pre-existed. You know, God told, when he talked to Jeremiah, he said, I knew you before I created you in your mother's womb. And the word that he used for the word knew is like, if you go back to Genesis, it says Adam knew Eve and they begot a son. So he says that he knew us very intimately before we came into this realm. So truthfully, I believe that I chose my mother. So that's a whole nother, we're not even going to go, that's my next book where I'm going to talk all about, quantum physics and how all that works. But the reality is I've created the life that I'm living. And so my reaction to everything that's happened is something that could go either way. You know, it can make you or break you. It could help you or hurt you. And our past is really there to help us. It's there to point the way of who we are. You know, if you've been suppressed in life, then maybe you're meant to be a queen. You're meant to be a king. And all that early, strife and suffering is really there to keep you from your destiny, from your ultimate greatness. Man, I don't know how we got on that road, Chris. What are you doing here, man? What are you doing?
Hey, no, it was relative. It was relative to what we were talking about.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. Being authentic and showing your true colors, Knolly. I appreciate that.
Yeah. What I want to do, I'm going to show, unless somebody has a question, I want to share 5 ways real quick. We're going to, and trust me, you guys are a quick study because you're down with Chris. 5 ways to quadruple your income next year. Who's down for that?
Oh, yeah.
All right. You guys are quick study. So I'm going to go through this quickly. And it won't even take me 5 minutes. We'll take a few minutes for each one. So let's look at this. By the way, this is the book that it's called 3 Hours a Day. It's on Amazon. You could also get it in Audible, and I did read it as well. So 96% of my focus has been on listings since I got started. This is what I really like to create for people or help you create. You create it for yourself, is to earn $250,000 or more a year, having nights and weekends off, 4 to 5 vacations a year, being debt free, and working 3 hours a day. I want to let you know that the reality is that this life is not just what you desire, but it's also what you deserve. Get away from this idea that, oh, I don't deserve it. I've got to earn it. I've got to work for it. That's foolishness. You came in this world with a birthright for greatness. Okay. And so you don't really have to feel like you have to earn or deserve anything. It is yours by the fact that you were born. Okay. That's a whole nother, I can unpack that for somebody if you're having trouble with that. But let me just share with you real quickly. What are the 5 ways that you're going to quadruple? And by the way, I challenge anyone to come up with a 6th way. You know why I challenge you? Because there isn't one. These are the only ways that you're going to be able to quadruple your income, okay, or 10x. Remember, 10x is easier than 2x, okay? So you got to leverage your business, okay? This whole idea, oh, Knolly, I can't afford it. I've hired people in the past and they suck. They're no good. I've never been able to find a good hire. I can't replace, all that's stinking thinking, okay? So you've got to leverage your business, leverages people, systems, and tools. And instead of saying, I can't afford it, did you know that's an affirmation? People say, Knolly, I can't afford that. That's an affirmation. Whenever you say something like that, that's a statement, that's a declaration. You're creating. By the way, you're all creators, just like I am. We are creators. So you're creating that for yourself. Every time you say it, you're telling your subconscious mind, oh, she says she can't. She can't afford it. Let's knock this deal out because she can't afford it. So that's a whole nother story. But the reality is your subconscious mind is really what controls 95% of your life. And you have to reprogram your brain, and then you'll have the kind of success that you truly deserve and desire. So you got to leverage your business, number 1. Number 2, you've got to do what? Increase your number of transactions. This is what, my man Dylan has already done this. Increase your number of transactions. So what I want you to do, not now, but this is your homework. Figure out, first of all, how can you leverage your business right now? How can you do that? And instead of saying, I can't afford it, let's come up with a new question. How can I afford this? How can I afford it? How can you increase your number of transactions in 2024? You know, write that down as a question and go to sleep with that on your mind, okay? And then tell your subconscious mind, hey, come up with some creative and great ways for me to be able to increase my number of transactions in 2024. And guess what? Your subconscious mind will go to work for you, okay? Overnight. Now, number 3, you've got to increase what? Your average transaction size. Ooh. You know, when you wake up in the morning, I want you to ask yourself, how can I give myself a raise today? Nobody's going to give you a raise except you. Don't you work for yourself? You're your boss. How can I give myself a raise today? Okay. Increase your average transaction size. Start working luxury. Don't shrink from it. Well, one day I'll do luxury. Why not today? Okay. Now, number 4, increase the number of transactions per client. Ooh, what if you could do that? What are some great ways that you can actually increase the number of transactions that you have per client? Okay, that's a homework assignment. If we were in a workshop right now, I'd have you sit down and write this out. And trust me, there's a bunch of different ways you could do this. And finally, number 5, raise your prices. Wait a minute, nobody wants to raise their prices right now. I get it, but what are some of the ways that you can actually raise your prices? Okay, and don't put any judgment on these. These are the only 5 ways, by the way, that you could quadruple, 5x, 10x your business. There's only 5 that have ever been that you know. And I didn't invent these, by the way. Okay, the master trainers that I've studied from, this is what you know. And so these are the 5 ways that you're going to quadruple your business and your income next year. I know a lot of you guys might feel like this right now. We covered a lot of stuff. It's like, hey, you know, but if you're struggling with leads, this is the book you want to get your hands on. I wrote this from my RevShare group because they were like, man, Knolly, I'm in my lead generation bunker and I don't know what to do. So it's 27 marketing ideas for free seller leads. Get your free copy. We ship it to you, pay the shipping. We send that out to you if you want it. If you're struggling with that, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I encourage you to do that because I have a lot of content on there that's free, my favorite 4-letter word. And then be sure to follow me on Instagram as well. So with that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to hand the mic back over to Chris. And
Yeah,
man.
appreciate that. Always dropping some major wisdom and nuggets for us. I appreciate that. And this is all usable stuff here. Stuff that you could actually implement tomorrow. It's not like high level stuff where you have to really rack your brain against the wall and try to figure out how to get creative and make it work. It's basic, simple stuff, but it's true and through. It works. It works. Obviously, it's proven it works. So these are great tactics that we can all implement tomorrow, and appreciate that, Knolly, for sharing that. Always grateful to have you on here and sharing your story. And again, it makes it more relatable, right? When you come from a place in which people really see you for what they see you for, what you are, right? And that's kind of like my story too. I love that. So it's always good to hear you speak and share. Any more questions? You got like literally a couple minutes here. Everybody got one little question. I think somebody did ask a question real quick here at the end. It was, what are some ways you raise your price that you have worked well? Sky asked real quick. Do you have a couple nuggets for that, Knolly?
One of the things that I've done, and in this market, it's kind of weird, but on my listing agreement, I put, first of all, I've always had a transaction fee, $5.95. Okay. And you may not think that's a big deal, but when you're doing 100 deals a year, that's $60,000 additionally, another revenue source. And that always has covered all of my admin staff. Okay. What do I mean by that? It's covered all my VAs. So I could literally have 4 VAs just for my admin fees alone. And that's what I did for years. So that's one way that I was able to raise my prices. Another way, and that's a whole system that I teach. A lot of people are like, I can't do that in my market. Trust me, I've taught thousands of agents how to do it. It's not hard. Another way that I raise my prices is that I articulated. I can't even articulate the word articulate. So I articulated my value proposition. Very, very important to do that. I can't break that down right now. But when you articulate what your value prop is, people will gladly, they won't even question your prices. It's almost like going to a high-end restaurant, Chris, and you say, hey, could you come here, waiter? This filet, this bone-in is $58. Could y'all work me a deal on that? They'll run you out of the place. It's $58. It's right there on the. So the reality is, when you articulate your value prop, everybody coming in knows that you're worth what you're charging. You've got to win the listing before you ever meet with the seller. That's the third thing. And back to the raising prices. When I have my listing agreement, what I do is I put, I say, hey, it's completely negotiable. When I come out there, it's completely negotiable. And so on my listing agreement, it says 6% of sales price, or 7% of sale price, or 8% of sale price. And if I'm going to charge 6%, I'll just circle. I say, you know what, Chris, I'm gonna honor you. I'm gonna give you my lowest rate, and I circle the 6. I initial next to it, okay, and I'm giving you my best deal. So there's a lot of ways that you can actually raise your prices. And actually, when you raise your standards, your prices automatically, people expect to pay more. So there's many more ways that you can do it. But you know, I know we're out of time, but yeah, but I want you to also be creative and think of your own ways to do this.
Yeah, I love it. We'll definitely plug in. Like I said, follow Knolly on Instagram, follow him on Facebook, follow his YouTube channel, plug into him.
Workplace, you can follow me on Workplace.
On Knolly Williams, message him and he'll message you back. And he'll spend time with you. So give him a call. He's very gracious with his time. Obviously, thank you for coming on today. And he'll definitely speak with you. If you got some questions on the side, definitely reach out to him. Other than that, you guys have an amazing week. I love you all. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Go out and crush it. Next week, though, I think we may not be having any meetings. It is Thanksgiving week already. I cannot believe next week is Thanksgiving. So I think the week we might take that off. So I'll put some information out there on the thread. You'll see that shortly. But other than that, see you on Thursday if you do the EXP Explain. Love you guys.
Hello.
Knolly.
Thank you, Knolly.
Knolly.
You're welcome.
All right, guys.